Serious, who did you trust completely, only to have them betray you? When I was around 11 or 12, I agreed to go play basketball with my supposed best friend on a certain day, only to remember that I had already made plans with another good friend of mine. Said best friend then proceeded to write my mom's phone number on several displays at various bus stops and whatnot with the message that if you're looking for some whore to fuck they should call. Oh, and you can also get drugs. This was one of the 2 times I got into a fight as a kid. The other time is more recent and follows the typical met girl, fell for girl and dated scheme. Then after me confessing my love, and I was head over heels in love mind you, she strung me along for a bit without giving me an answer. On Christmas I then found out that she was sleeping with a friend of mine for about 2 months. Needless to say, neither of them is in my life anymore. Romana is a fucking douche. Throwaway for obvious reasons. I was 10 years old, and I think it was around summer vacation. I was peeling shrimp and watching TV. My parents were downstairs and told me to watch TV upstairs in my grandma's room. My grandpa was visiting us because he originally lives in Korea. Anyways, I'm peeling shrimp and my grandpa walks in and something was very off about him. He was talking and his movements were completely different from how he usually was. So he walks towards me and starts to touch me in areas that made me feel very uncomfortable. My chest mainly. He did some more things that make me absolutely sick typing it out right now. I don't really want to go into detail because I just don't feel comfortable even typing it out. But what you're probably thinking is correct. My grandpa was really important to me and I spent a lot of time with him when I was younger, but after he did that to me I was confused. I lost trust in everybody and I questioned whoever I was close to. Took me a couple of years to finally tell my mom and she cut contact off with her father. I've actually never told anybody this other than my mom and sister. My grandma found out through my mother though, and she refuses to believe it happened, which I don't blame her for. A friend begged me for a job in high school. I had a sweet gig going and didn't want to mess anything up. I finally gave in and landed him the gig. Things were fun at first, but then he turned into the biggest nightmare for everyone there. Always bitching, trying to get out of work, blaming other employees, and even yelling at me in front of customers. Never again will I get a friend a job. Made me look like an asshole. This might be pretty dumb comparatively speaking, but when I was in high school I had some troubles with getting a prom date. Junior year my prom date got sick and ended up coming to take pictures in her dress, but then left before the actual event. There were some rumors that the sickness was fake, but that's not important. Anyway, my senior year I decided to ask out someone I was pretty sure was going to say yes. The last thing I wanted was to go to prom without a date again. Being that it was high school, I had to plan an entire scheme to try and ask her out in a cute way. My personal plan involved getting a local singer to help out. On the night that I was supposed to implement my plan, a friend of mine talked me out of it. He told me that it would be better if I just did something simple, like talk to her after lunch. So I ditched my plan and decided to ask her out the next day without any of the bells and whistles. That morning my friend asked her to prom before I got to school. I was devastated at the time. I felt like the world's biggest dumbass for taking his advice. Fucking Sarah. Let me begin by saying that I didn't really have friends in middle school. I had friend, and that was emotionally and physically abused, moved around from school to school, and even homeschooled. I had some problems adjusting. On top of this I was dealing with the fact that my mom's friend who she used to leave me with had sexually abused me, and I had never told anyone for fear of being punished. Long story short, my stepdad gave away my toys when I was 5 because my cousin who had been sexually abused talked me into doing some stuff. So, enter Sarah. Sarah basically pretends to be my friend. We get to talking, and she asks me if I've ever had sex. And it all came out. I was so desperate for a friend that I told her what happened to me. She then proceeds to go to school the following day and tell everyone how pathetic I am and how I was lying. because children can't get erections. Needless to say, if I didn't have trust issues, before I did after that. My mom repeatedly told private information about my life and things I was going through to other family members and her friends, even when I specifically asked her not to for many reasons, among them the fact that I didn't get along with these family members at all. A lot of these people were gossips and I knew would spread my business around like hot butter, and the fact that it was none of their business to know anything about me to begin with, and she promised she wouldn't repeat any of it. Well, so much for that. It got to the point that I stopped telling her anything at all, and it's now a big issue because she's hurt that I never tell her anything, and that I flat out told her I didn't trust her. She acts like she doesn't understand why I would be angry about it, and the really shit thing is that she's the exact same way as I'm constantly demands that I never repeat any of her business to others, and is really private, but the only difference is that I've never repeated any of her business to other people. If I had done what she did and told people, family, or friends, or whoever, the things she told about me, she would disown me and never speak to me again. But somehow it's okay that she does it. My cousin. Living in a war zone, my cousin was in charge of my protection. I wouldn't go anywhere without my cousin. Long story short, he met with some terrorists and set me up to be kidnapped. After a few days of being kidnapped, my parents paid the ransom of $150k. The agreement was 50/50 between my cousin and the group. After a few months, we found out after digging through and piecing together how the setup went. My best friend back in my early 20s. I had just had my first love break my heart and was in a bad place. My friend and I went out bar hopping and partying to meet some new women and drink my sorrows away. Fast forward to the end of the night, and he hands me his digital camera. This was back in 2001. To look through some funny pics we took that night. I scrolled one pic too far and found pics of my ex-GF sucking his dick. That was difficult. My best friend and ex-boyfriend. She had broken up with her boyfriend, mainly because she cheated on him, and tried to think of every possible way to make him jealous. To do that, she told me, not asked, but straight up told me, she was going to use my boyfriend to make him jealous. Naturally, I was like, please don't. Less than 5 minutes later, she was literally hanging all over my boyfriend. Her ex was there, because we all shared the same circle of friends and we were watching a movie. With her in my boyfriend's lap, with me sitting right next to them fuming my head off. I didn't stick around long after that. I sneaked out of the house, alerting only one other friend I was leaving. Hour later, I got called back by her ex-boyfriend, and I got to witness him rip both my best friend and ex a new asshole. He said something along the lines of, the only one who was hurt here tonight was love_n_other_crap. It just reminded me what a huge fucking whore you are. My best friend and ex fucked each other the following night. I left the day after that. This might sound like nothing compared to the other posts. I have always been the one in group projects to lead and put everything together, mostly because I don't trust anyone to do it. So in university, I'll let someone else do it. He was my friend. He totally dropped the course 4 days before the due date, threw out all the material, and left the rest of us high and dry. I was really pissed, as I needed this grade and the prof didn't like excuses for extensions. My friend cheated on his girlfriend on more than one occasion, which I kept secret until this moment. I planted a bra in his place for the GF to find. She broke up with him. My mother. Growing up I was always kind of a mummy's boy, idolized and trusted her more than anything. As I got older I opened up to her about a few things that were very important to me in confidence, and she blabbed and made things a million times worse. Firstly, I told her I was gay when I was about 13, but begged her not to tell anyone. She reacted pretty badly, convinced I was going to be murdered by homophobes, or catch AIDS, or become a pedophile. As a result, she told my dad, my brother, and other family members the next day while I was out. A couple of years later I told her I was having issues with suicidal thoughts and depression. She freaked out, made it about her, asked how I could do this to her, told all my family, called my school, because she assumed I was being bullied, etc. I think now she's older she realizes a lot of the mistakes she made, and is trying hard to be a better mum, now that I've moved out, and see each other every week or so. But still, she complains that I don't ever tell her things anymore, and I'm baffled that she's shocked by this. My experiences with her have made me very secretive and guarded about my feelings and problems with everyone, apart from strangers on the internet, it seems. My best friend in high school. I had just moved to the school a few months prior and didn't know many people, but she was the one person I thought I could trust. That same year, I was diagnosed with a cancerous bone tumor and told her, but asked her not to tell anyone else of course. I left for a few months to get some surgeries and treatment, and came back to her telling everyone that I had died. Apparently she had told everyone I had cancer soon after I told her about the tumor. My ex-in-laws. After I left my ex they took me and my kid in, while I looked for an apartment, and continued to offer help finding furniture, looking after my kid for a few hours occasionally, that kind of thing. After I moved out, and I thought it was because they genuinely wanted to help, until Child Protection contacted me and told me that my ex-in-laws had made numerous child abuse/neglect reports. For instance, they reported that I was neglecting and not wanting to care for my child when they would ask to spend a few hours with her. They wrote a letter to the social workers asking about the possibility of them adopting her, culminated in them getting a doctor friend to write a report saying I physically abuse her and her life is in danger. And once the hospital ruled that out, took her to get examined and spent 3 days there, they decided to say it's sexual abuse. After that was ruled out they pretended it was all my ex's idea. Never will trust them again and really hope my kid will never spend time with them again, but that's not my decision to make. My first really serious boyfriend. Totally broken person. Mom was an addict, didn't know who his dad was until he was 10. I wanted to help him so badly. He used me. He stole so much money from me, and I was just his derpy so who didn't do drugs, and worked full time to support us both. He cheated on me with someone like him, then they eventually turned on each other. I think he's still a piece of shit addict. I'm working my way through grad school. Fuck you, Jake. You're a user and an asshole. My ex-boyfriend and I talked about moving in together. We looked at houses for a while and finally settled on one. He convinced me to go ahead and get rid of my apartment and sell all of my furniture, dishes, small appliances, etc. and use that money to cover utility deposits on the new place, because we would be using his furnishings at the new house. We wouldn't need mine. Okay, done deal. All my stuff is sold. Moving day comes, and he texts me that morning to tell me he never loved me or my son and he doesn't want to see either of us anymore. Not only was I heartbroken, but I now had one day to find my son and I a place to live, and then go out and buy all new furnishing and necessities with no money, because I used all of it on deposits for his new house. Still have trust issues over that one. You know your best friend? Your sister from another mother that you laugh with, tell her all of your hopes and dreams and fears, who you're there for when anything comes crashing down in her world. When my world crashed, she went to my soon-to-be ex and told him that she was remaining my friend, to keep an eye on me, and would be readily available for him to have in court to testify for him, so I'd lose my kids. Turned out that she felt she wasn't getting enough gossip of my life to spread around at work. We worked together as well, so she figured she'd have more of the scoop if she worked it from both sides. You know how I found out? My soon-to-be ex. He was just as disgusted with her as I was. Haven't spoken to her in 15 years, although I do still hear about her from time to time. Very sad life.